Now, former New Zealand all-rounder Chris Harris has been a close observer of Indian cricket in the last couple of years, even more so since he came on board with us here at WION Sports. He joins us to delve deeper into this quite phenomenal start that India have had to their series in South Africa. Chris, you've had great praise for this Indian team, as most people have, given their run of performances over the last 18 months. But even by the high standards they've set, this is quite an astonishing display already.
Yeah, it's incredible. We're sort of seeing what I knew the Indian side was capable of, especially away from home, because that's always been their issue. And I think we saw it in the last Test match. We saw that, I guess, that belief and that confidence when they were in a position where perhaps they should have lost, and their ability to keep fighting. And then I think the confidence they gained from that last Test match has really helped them in this one-day series. And, I mean, you put it brilliantly. They have absolutely dominated it, and it's been led brilliantly from the front, from their skipper, Virat Kohli, as well as many others. But, look, I did pick 4-1. You know, even that now I'm thinking, well, how is South Africa going to score one victory, because India have been that dominant? But I still think they might lose one, and 4-1 could still be a pretty good prediction. Considering South Africa dominated in the Test series, I thought it was quite a gutsy prediction, if you like, but it's looking like it's going to come true, if not even better than that.
Yes, and to those of you wondering why Chris says 4-1, it's because he's also predicted that one of these games in this series will be washed out due to rain. That's why the count comes to 5. We'll get into those details in just a bit, Chris, but touching a little more at the periphery, I know this is a South African side without its spine in AB de Villiers, Faf du Plessis and now Quinton de Kock. But this is an away series. We've stressed so much on how teams across international cricket struggle to show up when playing away from home. But last night, Cape Town looked more like Kochi than it looked like Cape Town.
Yes, well, I think what's happened is India have shown what they're capable of. And I think they are playing, I think they've been in South Africa now for a good period of time. They've got used to conditions. And as I said to you right from the start, this Indian side is a quality setup. They've got all facets covered, the spin attack, the seamers, and we've seen in recent times the batting as well. But what we haven't seen is we haven't really seen South Africa turn up in this one-day series. At times they've put themselves in position of strength, but credit must go to India as well. They've kept the throat on the throat, and when when South Africa have formed any sort of partnership, India have just managed to break it, and not only break that partnership, but get 4 or 5 wickets and break the spine of the South African batting lineup. Obviously, it's absolutely key that South Africa have lost Quinton de Kock now and Faf du Plessis. We know AB de Villiers hasn't been playing. There's a chance that he will be back. So without those players, AB may be back, but the other two definitely won't be for the rest of the series. I don't see how South Africa can recover in this one-day series with the way the Indians are playing.
Okay, so let's break down Game 3 then, Chris, and where else to begin? Are you getting bored answering questions about this man who scores hundreds almost every other time we talk here?
You just, you know, through the Test series, I mean, his numbers and that were still very, very good. And, you know, he had a couple of failures, though, and you think, oh, well, you know, he's a brilliant player, but look, he can fail. And then all of a sudden, when you think perhaps he's going through, for his standards, not by anyone else's, a little bit of a lean patch, he turns up and scores, you know, 200s in 3 games and 160 not out and a brilliant 100 in the first game. I mean, it's just, to me, it's the quality and it's the ability to continually get out of bed and perform at such a high level. I mean, at times he must bore himself, he plays that well, surely.
Yeah, I can't deny that. Where Virat Kohli doesn't make this jaw-dropping run of his boring, Chris, is by how he shows a new facet with almost every passing 100. 160 undefeated runs on a 2-pace track would be worth doffing your hat to, however they were scored. But only 60 of those last night, Chris, came via boundaries. Only the 5th instance in ODI history of a batsman running 100 runs in an ODI innings.
2 things for me. That's what makes him such a world-class player. One, his passion to always go out and score runs. And he's the type of guy that he might have scored 3 back-to-back hundreds, but you can be assured the 4th time he goes out to bat, where most of us are thinking, we're in a bit of a golden patch, I'm going to play a few shots, he's got that unbelievable hunger to go out and do it again. I mean, every time he goes to the crease, he tries to score 100. And it's also his ability to read the conditions. You know, on a flat track, you talk about flat track bullies, and he can go out when it's a little bit lower and slower and just dominate. But his ability to read the track. If you said to me Virat Kohli scored 160 in a one-day game, you could guarantee that it would be off less balls than runs he faced. But as you rightly pointed out, it was a bit too paced. It wasn't the easiest wicket in the world to bat on. And just the ability for him to read that and to know that it was difficult and just to manipulate the innings and think, right, I'm going to bat through, I'm going to take it, you know, as the captain, I'm going to lead from the front, I'm going to bat through this innings. And it was just a magnificent innings on a wicket that wasn't that easy for batting. And, you know, 303 at half-time on a two-paced wicket, which is a little bit up and down, it just showed, I think India showed, if you bowl well, that it was the type of wicket that, you know, 220 would have been a good score. That was just the quality of Virat Kohli and his batting and his ability to read the conditions and play to them.
You've already led us on to the Indian bowling, Chris. Now, if at all that pitch looked tricky when India were batting, it looked like a completely daunting prospect altogether when those two wrist spinners came into play. Yuzvendra Chahal and Kuldeep Yadav in this series have been the same level as Virat Kohli with the bat, you could say. 21 wickets between them already. South Africa seem to have no clue.
Yeah, what's really pleasing, and they're doing it away from India as well, which is even more important. For me, what's amazing about these two is the ability to work in tandem, and they're doing it together. It's not just, you know, one. And I think the advantage they have, Kuldeep Yadav, I think most players find left armers difficult to pick anyway, and he's got the ability to spin the ball both ways. It's not something you face a lot of. So what for me is happening is the South Africans are struggling to pick him. So that makes it really, really difficult. And I think he's bowling in great areas. And if you're unsure which way it's spinning and the ball's keeping a little bit low, he's going to be, one, very difficult to score off, and two, he's creating a great opportunity for India to pick up wickets. And so that's all for me is also helping Chahal at the other end, who is very, very accurate. And what's happening is, for me, South Africa are being more aggressive against Chahal because they see, I think they can pick him a little bit better than the left armour. They're being more aggressive. And so he's going for more runs, but because he's so accurate, he's picking up the wickets as well. So as a partnership, they're working brilliantly. And I think currently South Africa don't have the answers. It helps that AB de Villiers isn't there. Perhaps he's one answer that could perhaps combat those two. But to me, it looks like the rest of the South African order, if the top order fail, that middle and lower order are really going to struggle against the quality of both of those spinners. And being left and right arm combination are really, you know, are really good for each other and for India. And it's a great combination.
Yes, they could really do with AB de Villiers in that lineup. How badly they'd be hoping for him to return for the fourth ODI. If you look at most of that batting lineup, Chris, quite a few of these players are very new to international cricket, and it's turning out to be a painful ordeal for them, isn't it? I like the words of Akash Chopra on ESPN Cricinfo last night. He said an inability to play pace can be scary for a batsman, but an inability to face spin just makes for embarrassing viewing. This really isn't a great place to be in for the Proteas at all.
Yeah, it's very, very tough. As I said, it's tough at the best of times facing quality spin. And as Chopra rightly said, it can make you look a little bit silly because for most viewers, they're thinking, he's only bowling at 85 Ks an hour. How hard can it be? You know, I hit that in my backyard. But when it's got the ability to come out of the wrist and it's hard to see and it's spinning both ways and you're getting no relief. It's not like I'll just get through Kuldeep's over and then I'll be fine. You're getting it at the other end as well. So you're getting quality spin from both ends. It is very, very difficult. And as you said, that, you know, now that they've lost a cock, Fluff, who scored that good 100 in that first one-day international, they need those guys to lead from the front. And if, as a younger player, you see your senior players going out there, that gives you confidence. Now, there's even a lack of senior players for the South African batting lineup. So that's why, in some ways, I think they're going to find it even more difficult. So it's going to take someone like an AB de Villiers or a Hassan Amla to stand up and bat through most of the innings. And if neither of those two players do, South Africa's really going to struggle.
Now, cricket and sport teaches us, Chris, that nothing can be taken for granted, and we can rest assured that this Indian team will be maintaining that. Now, I know things can change very quickly, but let's be realistic. Is there any coming back for South Africa from this position?
I don't think so. And for a lot of the reasons that I've mentioned today, the fact that de Kock's out, Fluff du Plessis out, and there are a couple of match winners for South Africa. I'm not sure about Morne Morkel, but they've got a reasonably inexperienced bowling lineup now to go with that inexperienced batting lineup. So it's going to be very, very tough. The other thing that's going against them, for me, India are still hurting a little bit from the Test series. They showed what they're capable of doing in that last Test in Johannesburg. So I know Virat Kohli and the management will be saying, look, let's just remember that Test series. We lost it. We've got to use some of that pain to help our motivation to absolutely dominate South Africa in this one-day series. It'll show our fans and the cricketing public that, yes, we are a good side and we can play well away from India. And they've certainly shown it so far. And I can't think of any reason why they won't continue to play the way they have. And as you rightly put it, keep that foot on the throat.
Now, I know, Chris, you'd said 4-1, keeping in mind your rain-affected game prediction at the start of this conversation, as indeed at the start of this series. But combine that sense of hurt that you allude to from the Test series and the domination and the momentum coming out of it, you couldn't rule out the possibility of that most embarrassing of tennis score lines here, could you? 6-0.
Well, that would certainly be the pick for most people at this stage. And as you said, like a tennis score, it wouldn't be 6-0, it would be 6-love. So I think that's what India are definitely gunning for. As I said, there's a little bit of hurt, one from the Test series, and two, they've got this, as I said, this Indian side, for me, have got all three bases covered in their seam attack, their spin attack, and their top and middle order. And they want to prove to the cricketing world that they can dominate away from India, and that's certainly what they're doing in this one-day series. And I know it's what Virat Kohli will be talking about with the team, and also the management will be talking about. So they will be very, very keen to try and win this series 6-0.
Yes, and that would be something for Indian cricket followers to savour, whitewashing a team away from home. But for the sake of intrigue and for the sake of you and I having more things to talk about, Chris, let's hope for a better contest between what are the top two ranked sides in ODIs. Thank you on that note, Chris Harris, for your time, as always.